This is the Snowbiz Now Entertainment Network. Hello and welcome to Action Equals Life, the series. Right now I'm sitting in the lobby of the JW Marriott Hotel in Bangkok, Thailand, and Bill Hammerton from RadioBangkok.net is about to interview me about the Action Equals Life project. Say hello, Bill.
Hi, Nicholas.
And I am going to interview him interviewing me so I can share it with you. And if you thought I was a PromoHomo before, you're going to believe it now. And some people love me for it and some people hate me for it, but hey, I'm out to deliver a message and I'm doing it in any way that I can. So let's move on to Bill. Bill, I want my viewers to know a little bit about RadioBangkok.net. So tell me a little bit about what it is you're doing.
Okay, RadioBangkok.net's been going about 5 years now, and it's got about 300,000 unique listeners per month. It's built up over that time. We play 70% music, but our USP is Thailand and Bangkok in particular. So we interview fascinating, interesting people just like yourself.
Well, thank you so much. And people can find you, of course, at RadioBangkok.net.
Yeah, and we're on iTunes, we're on all sorts of RSS feeds, and about another 100 websites where you can find our links and listen to us.
Okay, great. Well, this particular interview on my video version will be broken up into 10-minute segments, and I invite you to watch all of the segments. I don't know how many there'll be. So it's your interview now, Bill, and thank you for the honor.
Okay, just start by introducing yourself, Nicholas. Tell us who you are, tell us a little bit about your background, where we are, what we do.
Okay. My name's Nicholas Snow. I was born and raised in Arizona in the United States. I went to California with a dream of making it in the entertainment industry. In my college years in the early 80s, I ended up coming out of the closet as a gay man. That's the time of my life when I became fairly political. That's when we first started hearing about HIV and AIDS. And I lost a close friend to suicide. My great-grandmother died, and all of these things sort of combined. And I got this message that I needed to honor my life, I needed to express my life, I needed to follow my dreams. So I came out of the closet and I pursued an entertainment career, but always as an openly gay man. In the LA area, I'm probably most known for a television show that I had for 7 years called Tinseltown's Queer, which I described as a Queen's version of Larry King. Throughout most of the 1990s, I worked at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center as a day job while I pursued all these other things, and ultimately had the opportunity to meet with some very dear close friends in their dot-com company. When that sort of went bust, actually it didn't go bust, but they laid off people. I was one of them. And when that occurred, I decided I never wanted to be laid off again, so I created notesfromhollywood.com, which was an online version of a column that I had written on and off since about 1990. And as a result of having that website, I was invited to Thailand for the Bangkok International Film Festival in 2004. I was subsequently invited back 3 different times, 2 times for a film festival and once for a VIP fam trip, a media trip, to various places in Bangkok. I ended up falling in love with Thailand for a variety of reasons. I didn't come here for men, I didn't come here for Asian men, I didn't come here for young men, I didn't come here for any of the stereotypical reasons that people think people come here for. I came here because I really loved Thai culture. I liked being outside of the United States. I love being an American. I'm proud to be an American. But I was thrilled to be as far away from George Bush as absolutely possible. And so that is a very quick soundbite of my background and how I ended up in Thailand.
And have you tried to assimilate into Thai society? Have you learned to speak or read the language?
ใช่ครับผมเรียนพูดภาษาไทยครับเพราะว่าผมคิดว่าผมอยากจะอยู่กรุงเทพหลายปีครับ In other words, yes, I've studied Thai because I want to live here for many years. I would like to have a connection to Thailand for my entire life. I'm about to put a foot solidly back in the U.S. and but I hope to always have a long-term relationship with Thailand, and in my work as an activist, as a media activist, and actually as in my other life as a media entrepreneur, I want to travel the world with these two places as my foundation.
And not directly concerning yourself, but what's the gay scene like here in Thailand? Is it accepted? I mean, how do people view people who aren't in the normal stream of society?
Well, you know, there's contradictory information regarding the answer to that question. Thailand is very open in so many different ways, and in many ways, gay people are welcome. But in other ways, there's as much homophobia here as anywhere. And actually, I'd like to take the opportunity to encourage gay men and lesbians and bisexuals and transgender people to keep coming to Thailand, even though they may have heard about the protest in Chiang Mai where the red shirts in a very ugly, hateful way stopped a gay pride event from happening. That's a very small group of people, so I want to encourage everyone to keep coming to Thailand. But there's a lot of work that needs to happen here. For example, transgendered people, from my understanding, are not allowed to change their ID cards. If a man becomes a woman, he cannot change his identity legally in the eyes of Thai society. And there, from what I understand, is not national protection for gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgendered people in Thailand. Let me just check my time on my camera here, since I'm filming too. Okay, another point I want to make is people know of places like Patpong and Surawang, and as a journalist, I don't talk about the sort of adult adventures that are available here, but everyone knows that they exist. And since I've come out about having become HIV positive in Thailand, since I'm openly gay, since I decided to report internationally about the Chiang Mai gay pride incident, I will talk about this, and I hope that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs realizes that I'm one of the best long-term advocates they could ever have, and continues to grant me my media visa. But to say that Thailand is all about Patpong is to say that California, or the United States for that matter, is all about Disneyland. Some people might go to the US or California to go to Disneyland, but Disneyland does not characterize everything that America has to offer. So the same sort of thing goes with Thailand. People might know Thailand for particular reasons, but Thailand is so much more, and it isn't just that. And many, if not most of the people who come here aren't coming here for that.
So, from your experience, is what am I trying to say? The gay society here, I mean, that isn't here to serve the foreigner, the sex tourist, is that a substantial community?
Oh yes, yes. There's so many people who have come here from all walks of life, but it is a particularly it's gay friendly to the extent that in many places in the United States, I'm in physical danger of people know that I'm gay. You know, I could be beat up still in the U.S. And there's lots of institutionalized hate against gay people in the U.S. You don't really see that here. You don't see overt hatred. You can walk down the street and feel quite comfortable. And but you don't have to have a gay identity really in Thailand the way that you do in other places. That's quite a complex conversation.
Without getting too deeply, but the people that do service the tourist industry or that trade, they're not all necessarily gay themselves, is that right?
Oh, you mean in terms of the boy bars?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a great time for me to tell my viewers on the video to come into part 2 of this, where we're going to answer that question. What do you think of that?
I think that's a great cliffhanger. Great.
Okay, so you've been watching Action Equals Life, the series. I'm with Bill Hammerton of BangkokRadio.net. Look for part 2 of this interview, and we'll move on with the topic. I'm Nicholas Snow with Action Equals Life, the series. This is part 2 of my interview, or actually Bill Hammerton's interview with me for RadioBangkok.net. Thanks again, Bill.
Thank you. Okay, part 2, and we were just talking about the people that work in the gay sex industry.
Well, actually, it's not just the gay sex industry. There is a much broader industry. Most of the customers are actually heterosexual, looking for heterosexual experiences, and it isn't just in Thailand. It's frankly a worldwide issue. So it would be very unfair to characterize this as something that's specific to Thailand. However, another point that I made in part 1 of this is to characterize the people who go to California. They might be inspired to go there to Disneyland, to go to Disneyland. But California is not defined by Disneyland, nor is the United States. So there may be some adult attractions that bring people to Thailand or other parts of the world that are, in fact, such a small part of what's there. Now, people all over the world will debate whether or not prostitution should be allowed and whether or not it should be legal or regulated. The reality is that it is technically illegal in Thailand, but everyone knows it happens, and so therefore it's sanctioned. This is a good time to say that I promote everything that's great about Thailand in many forms of media on a consistent basis, and I hope that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs continues to see me as an advocate for the worldwide celebration of Thailand and Thai culture as I talk about these things in the public for the first time.
Okay, and of course the big topic with all of prostitution, paid sex, whatever, is the safety. Now, can you just outline for us what has happened to you? What huge cataclysmic event in your life, I guess?
Well, interestingly, I did not get HIV in a commercial sex situation, which many people would assume. And I personally, while I have participated, I have gone to the boy bars, I have participated in that, in my early trips to Thailand, just because when people go to Disneyland, they ride the Matterhorn, I thought that was something that I was supposed to embrace, and it was presented as something that was so normal that I thought, okay, but for me, I just really did not, have not, and do not enjoy being with someone in a sexual capacity that isn't based upon some sort of deeper connection, mutual interest, and that is not economically motivated. So the person that I met, that I got HIV from, I met on the internet, on a website where gay men meet other gay men, and it was a hookup that happened in the early morning, and in a moment of passion, I did not use a condom. People would say, how in this age did you have unsafe sex? And that's an important question, and it's something that I'm willing to answer, and people should ask that question themselves. There are 4 reasons why I participated in unsafe sex. Number 1, I was depressed at the time and not taking as good care of myself as I should. Number 2, I was with someone who said and believed that he was HIV negative. Number 3, I had a false sense of security about remaining HIV negative because I'd been HIV negative for so long. And finally, whether I'd heard this statistic or not, I didn't retain it, I did not know that 3 out of 10 MSM, men who have sex with men in Bangkok, have HIV. I did not know that. So I consequently contracted HIV, and you had asked me to compare this to the sex industry in Bangkok. I think that some of the best concentrated efforts for HIV/AIDS prevention and safer sex campaigns exist in that industry, and I'm still on a learning curve here. So I don't want to present myself as an expert about facts, figures, statistics, and specifically what is being done. I'm telling my story, and through the website actionequalslife.com, I've created a place for anyone to go to address this issue, express any opinion about this issue, for organizations to provide their resources if they so choose, and for individuals to interact with others about this topic. ActionEqualsLife.com is also focused on creating HIV/AIDS awareness, promoting gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender civil rights and human rights in general. And I'm doing that because I want to, this is my life's work, my life's passion, and I wanted to include any issue that is important and near and dear to my heart. And I also think that if you're interested in any one of those three things, you're interested in all of them.
Take us back to the detail. How did you discover that you were actually HIV? I mean, what was the process?
Well, not in all cases, but in some cases, shortly after, within weeks of exposure, someone who has contracted HIV will have a severe flu-like illness. I had one of these. I didn't get well like I should have. I went to the hospital. Through a process of elimination, I was told that I, in fact, might have a recent acute HIV infection. I was shocked. I didn't have the money at the time to confirm this with the sort of test offered at that stage of infection in that hospital. So I left, knowing that I might have become HIV positive. That was August of 2007. Going into 2008, as a New Year's resolution, I decided that I wanted to have a test, which I did on January 3rd at an anonymous testing site in Bangkok, targeting the MSM community. And on that night I learned that I had HIV. And that's when I started my journey about when and how I would tell my story to make a difference. There are those who think that I'm telling my story to draw attention to myself. Well, that is true. I am. But I was driven to tell my story primarily because I had an existing media platform reaching tens of thousands of people, if not more, on a regular basis, not only in Thailand but elsewhere. I felt it was my responsibility to add some visibility to this issue in a part of the world where no visibility exists. And so that's when I started the process to consider and plan and determine how I would tell my story, which culminated in October of 2008 at a press conference which I had at the Foreign Correspondents Club of Thailand. And it's this is April 4th, 2009, and I've probably reached 100,000 people or more with my campaign so far, and I've only just begun. And this would be a good time to break some news. The only place this has been mentioned publicly is on my Facebook profile. But I'm collaborating with one of Thailand's leading music producers. His name is Bruno Brugnano. He's produced over 100 CDs in Thailand with local and international artists, including Bird, Tongchai McIntyre, and Tata Young, and others. Well, I've written a song that I'm going to be the singer of. I'm working with Bruno on the song. I have tentative talks with a famous Thai film director to do the music video. It's going to be a dance-oriented track called The Power to Be Strong, and it will advance my whole Get Tested, Live Longer HIV/AIDS awareness campaign. I may be creating a foundation to receive funds from this, but at any rate, this puts me in a position where if I'm invited somewhere to give a speech, I can also perform. I can do whatever it is I can do to highlight local organizations, local individuals, local fundraising needs. And on the professional side of my life, because I report about entertainment and travel, there is no reason why I can't always get myself to these places at my own expense, for my own entrepreneurialism, while putting my decades of being a PromoHomo in play to benefit others.
Let me take you back a little bit, but a dumb question. That initial diagnosis and then the confirmation, what were the sort of things that were going through your mind? How were you dealing with it?
Well, Bill, that's a great place for another cliffhanger. because part 2 of the video version of this interview is about to end. So let's wrap up part 2, and I invite people who are watching to come back for part 3 of this video by Bill Hammerton of RadioBangkok.net, brought to you also on Action Equals Life, the series. Thanks again, Bill.
Thank you. I'm recording.
Welcome back to Action Equals Life, the series. This is part 3 of Bill Hammerton's interview with me as part of Action Equals Life, the series. And I want to thank you again, Bill, for your willingness to help bring light to the issues that I'm working with. So thank you.
Thank you. Fascinating subject, and something we should all be aware of.
Thank you.
Whatever our gender or bias.
Thank you.
So we were just finishing on your previous part of saying that almost ridiculous question, like how did you feel? But how were you dealing with the diagnosis and then confirmation?
Well, it was shocking, and I was experiencing other challenges at the time, financial issues, and I felt isolated and alone, and I had some people to turn to, but ultimately I was down on myself because I have been involved in this issue at different levels for my entire adult life, and I have been an activist. I know some of the world's most prolific long-term HIV/AIDS activists. So I was down on myself, but and I've articulated the reasons I didn't have safe sex in the instance in which I was exposed. None of those are good reasons, but they're human reasons. If I had to celebrate the best thing that came out of this for me, was that in my desire to tell my story publicly, I knew that the first person I needed to tell was my mother. So I also began to write a book about my process. I started writing the book on May 5th, 2008. It's called Life Positive, The Journey from the Center of My Heart. And it's basically a journal in which I was describing the whole process of coming out, culminating in my press conference in very close to National Coming Out Day, October 11th, 2008. And after months and months of preparation, within hours of telling my mother, talking to her on the phone, getting her love and support and her unconditional acceptance, I ended up on this journey where I stepped out and started telling my story. And just knowing that I had the love and the acceptance of my mother was so powerful for me, and my relationship with her was transformed as a result of wanting to tell my truth, which is particularly poignant because, as you know, 2 weeks ago my mother died completely unexpectedly, and within 24 hours of her death I had a beautiful conversation with both my mother and my stepfather on the occasion of their anniversary. They'd been married for 32 years. She died because of a medical error during an outpatient procedure, and I cannot talk about the details of that, but and currently my whole family is in shock. But I am celebrating the fact that as the result of wanting to tell my truth and help other people, that my relationship with my own mother was healed, and that it was in a profoundly different place than it would have been or could have been had HIV not been an influence in my life to want to be as close to my family as possible.
So some of the good things that have come out of HIV for you, looking at it with a positive spin, what about the reaction of other friends and acquaintances? Did any of that surprise you, their either acceptance or non-acceptance?
Well, some people are obviously scared by this issue, you know, I'm not a perfect person. I'm hard to be friends with. People will say I have a big ego, and I probably do in ways. But it's also, the flip side of that coin is I've had a difficult time loving, accepting, and believing in myself. So generally, if I'm appearing to do something that's really out of ego, it could very well be driven by my own insecurity and low self-worth. So I try to do what I can to be a healthy, whole, grounded, centered human being that loves and accepts myself. So anytime I'm involved in some sort of public media, it really is about being of service, and it's not about me, me, me. But one of the saddest experiences for me as part of this whole process is that I was not able to win the support or participation of the organized HIV/AIDS community. And one person who had been a particularly close friend of mine, upon hearing the news of what I was going to do, I sought his advice, I sought his input, I sought his feedback. Refused to talk to me about it anymore, and has barely talked to me since. So that has bothered me a lot, and I can't really do anything about that. I'm powerless over it. But for the most part, and I also need to say that he's probably given me advice in the past that I didn't listen to. So I clearly have played a role in whatever reason it is that he doesn't communicate with me anymore. In my conversation with him, we talked about how people might perceive my action as something that I was doing to draw attention to myself, which, as I've stated, yes, I want to draw attention to myself. I want to be a face, a name, and a voice of someone who's living with HIV, to make the point that it's important for anyone who thinks they may have HIV to get tested. Most people learn they have HIV when they get sick. This is well into the time at which they could have been receiving treatment. So I've launched the Get Tested, Live Longer HIV/AIDS awareness campaign. And that's the message. Get tested, know your HIV status. If you're negative, reinforce your safe sex behavior. If you are HIV positive, reinforce your safe sex behavior to take care of your partners and to make sure you don't get reinfected, because that will complicate your medical treatment potentially. And people who know their HIV status can live potentially much longer and healthier lives. So love me or hate me, I'm not going away, and I intend to reach tens of millions of people about this issue and others as I go forward. And I have completely self-financed everything I've talked about, with the exception of a 1,000 baht donation, which I gratefully accepted. But I'm not doing this to raise money for me, and everything I'm doing to raise the profile of HIV is what I was already doing before I became positive. I've added HIV into my public conversation.
And you've very eloquently told us an awful lot about what you're doing. How can people get involved? How can they find out more information?
Well, because I wasn't successful in having a particular organization to spotlight at the time of my coming out HIV positive, and as documented in my book, Life Positive, A Journey from the Center of My Heart, which is available for free at no charge in installments the day to which they were written, beginning May 5th, 2009. Anyone who wants to participate in this issue can join actionequalslife.com. It's free. It's a social networking site such as MySpace or Facebook. And people can create profiles, they can interact with this about this issue, they can challenge me, they can challenge each other. If someone with an organization feels they can expand their outreach using my website, I invite any organization dealing with HIV or AIDS, or the expanded purposes of the website, creating gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, civil rights, or human rights in general. Anyone involved with these issues, I invite them to participate with actionequalslife.com. It's a not-for-profit website. There's no revenue-generating function to it. When that does exist, it will be ethically tied to some sort of foundation that's transparent. But what I can do is tell my story and give people a place to interact with each other about this as I continue to build long-term associations with other people working professionally in the area of HIV/AIDS.
Nicholas, thank you very much.
Well, Bill, I want to thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak with you, and I want to invite my viewers to go to radiobangkok.net, and anyone who's listened to this at radiobangkok.net who wants to see the video of this, I invite them to come to actionequalslife.com. Remember, to anyone listening or watching, express the truth of your life to the people whom you influence, because action equals life and silence equals death. So let your life force be known. Love yourself, accept yourself, be proud, walk tall, whoever you are.
Lovely finish.
This is the Snowbiz Now Entertainment Network.